Yeah. So I shot this pilot going into my senior year. And I remember, we were shut down the streets in, oh gosh, what's the capital of Rhode Island? Downtown. I can't remember it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't
Blank.
know.
But anyway, and I just remember Philip Noyce being on a megaphone and I'd had my earring ripped out by the guy, like a criminal. So I'm like, I had to like reach for my ear and he's like on a megaphone, entire street in downtown and like, Scottie, wait a minute. Like, don't grab your ear. Cause like for the edit, my Australian accent is not great. But
That's great.
because I kept wanting to do it in real time, not knowing that like on
Yeah.
camera, you need a second to see the ear, then to go for it. Anyway, so I graduated, and at the end of the year, I got the notification that the show had been picked up to series.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I,
That's a big deal.
yeah, huge deal. So
Wow.
yeah, I moved to New York and was going back and forth to Rhode Island to shoot these episodes. And, I got an agent and it definitely, I mean, it was quite an experience of like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. What? And I'm auditioning and the casting director's like, she's so green. And I'm like, but I'm on set with having these pretty amazing scenes with Jason pretty much. And then I don't know what happened, but I was supposed to have been in more episodes and then I wasn't ready to be naked in the scenes and it was showtime and then I was no longer in the show. I don't know if that's what happened, but um uh anywho, so that but it got me in the door and it got me an agent and it got me my SAG card
Oh,
most
absolutely.
importantly.
Yeah.
And so it's been a humbling, amazing journey since then, right?
Oh my God.
Because it was such beginner's luck. Um, and
How long was the show? How many seasons were you in it?
I was only in the first season for like half the season. And I played a character who was totally psychotic and I didn't realize it. It was like, and it was so funny because when I moved to LA about 6 months later, because I was like, I can't do another Northeast winter. I want to be an actor. I want to go to LA. This is when pilot season was still really a thing. And but prior to going during the several episodes, like latter episodes of Brotherhood, they'd sent me to an acting coach. And then I move out to LA. I start this acting class with this amazing woman, Sandy Marshall,
Hmm.
no longer with us, Meisner based technique. And she really, really believed in me and, has always been like held a special place in my heart on my journey. But about 6 or 7 years after I moved to LA, she was watching, ended up watching Brotherhood on the like streaming it. And she was like, "You were so good in this. What happened?" I was like, "I went to class and I started overthinking." Because I remember when I came to her first class, it was like my scene was so bad that the class was like holding back laughter because I was acting, right? And her whole thing is like be in yourself and be, you know. So she over time rid me of that habit, I would say. But it
What
was
happened?
funny when she called me like what happened. I was like, I started thinking too hard because I have an overthinking brain. So
Oh wow.
there you go.
That's
Anyway, and
amazing.
then, I've been lucky to work for since then for a while now. And
Yeah.
I've produced and I just directed my first film, a short film last year that I wrote and
Congratulations.
acted in. Thank you. It was such a rewarding, amazing experience.
What's it
I,
about?
it's a dark comedy about a woman who can't get over her ex-boyfriend, and she's an LA hippy dippy spiritual cultural appropriator. So she decides to sit Shiva as though he's dead, even though he's still alive. And of course, it all blows up in her face because she's well
That's
intentioned,
right.
but not, just a little not fully with it. And
Who are you playing the role as well?
yeah, I play the
Perfect.
role. And I had an amazing cast. I mean, that's the benefit of being an actor, right? Amazing actors, and you're like, "Will
Yeah,
you do
yeah.
me this massive favor?" And then,
Yeah.
had this amazing set designer come in who I'd worked with a decade ago, and we'd randomly just reconnected on Instagram. And then I'm like, "Will you be my production designer, not set designer, production designer. And then my DP, I was on a writing retreat where I wrote the short film in Tuscany with, and the one of the writers shared an Instagram story, and then her husband was like, I know her. We did Skyline together. And he ended up coming on board as my DP, and he's phenomenal. And it was January of last year, right after the strike. So people weren't quite up and going. So they were eager to.
They're still not going.
Work. I know it's still pretty slow, but he pulled some massive favors with some pretty phenomenally talented, grip and electric. I mean, I had my head grip, I think, or maybe his head electric was just off Transformers 5, and I was doing a short film. So, and then I filmed it. It was sort of written with, I have property I own that I can use as like my own location. So I can save on location. And, yeah. And it was crazy because going into the shoot weekend, I had this scene written outside with this fire ceremony that's, hippy dippy thing. And I was freaking out because it was scheduled to rain. And I also had like a story point that wasn't quite right about the fire ceremony where my character was like pulled out a hose. And my one friend, who's a brilliant writer, showrunner, and she said, well, you have a lead character who's already asking her friends to do absurd things. Why wouldn't she just take him out to a fire ceremony in the rain? And we ended up doing that and just committing to it and getting umbrellas to like cover for like how rainy they got or not. Cause we had one scene afterwards. We had to shoot the final scene back inside before we went outside. So I had to be like, how do I reverse engineer this? And the day of the final day of the shoot in the rain outside at about 3:00, I looked at the sky and I was like, I call a rainbow. And at 5:00 at wrap, a rainbow came out. And I was like, this is pretty cool. And then I started editing, and the whole thing has been very humbling. And now I'm like, oh, post-production is a whole other beast.